Welcome back to Invisible UX. Today we're going to continue our Figma tutorial series with a session on shapes. Let's get right to it. Alright, so let's get started with shapes. So we've got our frame that we created with the last session. It's an iPhone 14 size. We're going to go ahead and continue to use that. For starters, we'll take a look at the shapes menu and go from there. So we'll start by taking a look at the Shapes menu, which is located at the top of the Figma UI. So the Shapes menu is right between the Frames menu and the Pen tool. So we click the drop down here, and all of the available shapes are shown, along with their associated shortcut, if there is one. So the first shape, rectangle, the shortcut is R. Line is L. Arrow, Shift plus L. You would think it could be A, but no, Shift plus L. Ellipse is O. And then we have polygon and star with no associated shortcuts. There's another function on here where you can place an image or a video, but since it's not directly related to shapes, we're not going to cover it in this session. Okay, so starting with rectangle, you can either use the drop-down, select the rectangle tool, or you can hit R. They both do the same thing. Okay, so once the tool is selected, your cursor will change. We create a rectangle. We'll go into the attributes of that rectangle in another session. We're just going to cover the very high level shape creation for this session. Trick or a hack, if you hold down Shift, it creates a square. It creates sides of equal length. Okay, so I'm holding down Shift now. If I release Shift, now we're back to the rectangle tool. Press Shift again, we get proportional sides, which creates a square. Pretty cool. Okay, so I'll go ahead and just copy this frame over using Shift plus Option. I'll delete the rectangles / squares, and we'll go on to our next shape. So going down to the drop down, we have a line. So again, we can either select line from the drop down, or we can use the shortcut L. So you'll notice once a shape is selected, it's highlighted in blue, so you can always refer to what kind of shape you're about to produce. So for line, we can just click, drag, we get a line that goes kind of any direction, of any length. Okay, we have the default settings over here in the menu, which again we'll review in a later session. If we just hit L, so I just hit L, we also get to that line shortcut. But also, if you hold down Shift when you're creating your line, you don't have that free form that you did before. You're kind of locked into 45-degree increments, which is pretty cool if you want more precise line construction. Okay, so copying that frame again for the next shape. Once again, we'll get rid of our lines, and then we'll create an arrow. Okay, so you can either use the drop down or Shift plus L. Without selecting Shift, now we create an arrow. And by default, the starting point is going to be the end of the arrow, or the back of it, if you will. And the end point will be the front of it. Okay. So once again, I'm just going to hit Shift plus L for that shortcut. If you hit Shift, it's going to restrict you to increments of 45 degrees. Pretty cool. Okay. So copying that frame over, going into it, deleting the arrows, and going to the next shape, which is ellipse. Once again, you can select ellipse by the drop down, select it directly. You can hit escape to get out of it, or you can just hit the cursor. As an alternate, you can hit O, and you get ellipse selected, as you can see in the menu. So clicking and dragging, you're not restricted. You can have an ellipse of any proportion, any size. But similar to some of the other shapes, if you hold down Shift while you create the ellipse, can you guess what you're going to get based on the previous stuff? It's going to be a circle. 10 points if you guess that right.